Can you elaborate on the reason these politicians want to be reelected? What's in it for them to remain in Congress? In short, it's power, money, and prestige. And understand this, that despite what you might think, our Congress is actually quite small in proportion to our population. It was capped at 435 in 1929, when we had 120 million people in this country. Right now, we have 340 million people in this country, yet the number still remains 435. So those positions hold a lot more power than they used to. You go to another country and it's different. For instance, you go to China, they have the National People's Congress. Now, whether or not they actually have any power, that's another conversation. But they have about 4 times our population and they have a Congress of about 2,900 people. If you go to the UK, for instance, they have the House of Commons and they have 650 members in the House of Commons, but they only have a population of about 70 million. So, as you can see, there's a disproportionate level of representation in politics, which has made these positions gradually become more powerful. It's the same thing for the Senate. The Senate stopped expanding in 1959 after Hawaii became a state. But the number of people increasing has made it so that these people hold more power and they represent more people. Well, how do you have a conversation with these people in order to voice your opinion on specific political events, agendas, or interests? Well, usually the easiest way to do so is to make yourself heard or to buy your way in. And for that matter, a great deal of politicians are more and more involved with lobbyists, and these lobbyists provide them with kickbacks, with gifts, with things that in general make the job a very fun one to have for certain people. Now, I worked as a server from 2018 to 2019. I know how hard I will work for a $20 tip. I know how hard I will work for a $200 tip. And if you're a member of Congress and some lobbyist is promising you thousands of dollars if you just vote for something, or if you just say something about a specific issue, or if you co-sponsor a bill, well, that's very appealing to a lot of people, and I don't necessarily blame them for it. I just think that's a part of human nature. The job itself is also quite comfortable if you want it to be. You don't have to work as hard as you would at a traditional 9 to 5. You get a lot of staff under you, you get a lot of benefits, per diems, travel expenses, and you also get a pension if you serve longer than 5 years in the House. So, given the fact that people in their 80s and 90s are still in Congress, I imagine that if you don't want to work hard, it doesn't have to be a difficult job. Now, those are not the main reasons why people do the job. People don't usually do the job for the pay, aside from like George Santos, who was trying to get that pension after 5 years. People do the job because it gives them enormous connections and power and influence. People do the job because it gives them insights as to what stocks are going to look like, what the future is going to behold. Some people do it for positive change, some people do it to enrich themselves. Some people do it knowing that, well, this is the way that they will be remembered throughout history. If you're a senator from Texas, people are going to remember who you are 100 or 200 years from now when they go through records or when they look through textbooks. And that's something that a lot of people take into consideration when they run for office. Now, part of your question is, why do these politicians want to remain in Congress if they're doing the opposite of what the job entails? Well, the thing is that doing nothing is not a bad political strategy. JFK, when he was a senator from Massachusetts, famously tried to keep as quiet as possible so that when he ran for president, he would be more appealing to more Americans. And oftentimes, sometimes the best thing you can do in politics is actually nothing, because there are things that are working and they don't need to be changed. As for these politicians, though, they want to be reelected because they want to keep that power and influence. They want to keep those connections, and they want to stay relevant for as long as they can.